This week on Good Delivery.
I appreciate the help with the joke.
So before you say the punchline, raise your volume and say, "Here comes the joke."
Maybe try replacing it with something that's actually bad, like opioids. My dad has a bad opioids habit.
You
He's
think that'll be
addicted.
funny? A bad opioid habit?
The point is that it's resonant, and then the funny is up to you.
Wait.
I'm James.
I'm CJ.
I'm Natasha. Comedians are having a hard time performing in front of a live audience, but they still want to get better at their craft. That's where we come in. This is Good Delivery.
On this week's show, we have a very funny comedian. He's one of our favorites. He's also a 2020 Sesame Workshop Writers Room Fellow, Saurin Choksi. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate the help with the jokes.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we have time to help you with one bit.
Okay.
So why don't you show us what you're working on?
Great. Well, the first time my wife met my father, I was a little bit nervous. My dad's kind of a big character. I will say the best way to describe him is he has the body of an electrical engineer and the brain of a mid-level cocaine dealer. So the first time they met, my wife and I flew from New York to Houston, Texas, where my family lives. My dad came to pick us up from the airport. And you know how when you pick up someone from the airport, you're supposed to be waiting inside the car. My dad wasn't in the car. He was waiting outside of the car. He was like posing on his own car. And it was 9 o'clock at night. He was wearing Ray-Ban aviators. He was wearing his favorite outfit, my fault, because I bought him these clothes, a I Love New York sweatshirt and a hat that says Brooklyn on it. Okay, I never intended for him to wear those at the same time. He never doesn't wear them at the same time, right? He looked like a dude who shops for clothes only at the Hudson News LaGuardia Airport. And my wife was very excited to meet him. She was like, "Mr. Choksi, so nice to finally meet you. Also, you look great in that sweatshirt." And then my father says to his future daughter-in-law, the love of my life, the first time he speaks to her, he goes, "Caitlin, what can I say? Looking great in sweatshirts is just a bad habit of mine." I was like, dude, are you a real human being? Sometimes I think my dad learned how to speak English from only watching Steven Seagal movies. Oh, that's it, guys. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Really
That's
nice.
really good stuff, but definitely room to punch up.
I'll take it away.
Okay.
You describe your dad as having the body of an electrical engineer, but the brain of a cocaine dealer. You see how it's so many words.
Oh,
Let's trim and make it really funny. So instead, how about he's a Roomba plus heroin?
wait. My dad's a Roomba?
Body of an engineer, so wordy. What's a simpler way to do that? Roomba.
Because engineers made Roombas.
And while we're on the topic of your dad, you're leaving some, meat on the table here. You have to do an act out of your father. You're already describing him. Let's hear him. And you say he's from the South, so let's make him sound like one of those Alabama Southern lawyers, because that's when we think of the South,
Nice.
we think of Louisiana, right? Right? Come on. Just
Yeah.
cartoonishly Southern. And that's the only way we'll know that he's from the South.
And I think it's funny because I wrote in my notes, Southern lawyer. I think that is going I also wrote that down. But the other thing that I wrote down, it might be helpful to maximize kind of the mileage that you get out of some of these jokes by telling the audience, here comes the joke. So before you say the punchline, before you even really say anything funny, raise your volume, raise your energy, and say, here comes the joke, and then say it.
It's what we call signaling to the audience, this is where the funny part is.
Signaling. Okay.
Choksi, my note to you is, I didn't understand the last part. What does it mean that your dad has a bad habit for sweatshirts?
Yeah, it's just like kind of the way
Like
my dad
it's bankrupting him?
No, I mean, I don't. I guess it's just like a kind of a funny saying he says.
So that's like a fun habit. If he's saying a bad habit, I want it to be a real bad habit, you know?
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe try replacing it with something that's actually bad, like opioids. My dad has a bad opioids habit.
You
He's
think that'll
addicted.
be funny? A bad opioid habit?
Because you're telling a story from your own life. And so what you're going to do is kind of like in a Mike Birbiglia sort of way, you're going to take a turn that also educates the audience.
See, so you use that Mike Birbiglia turn to take the
Yeah.
audience in a new direction and say, guess what? Over 65,000 people died of opioids in the US last year.
And if I may pitch on that, just you could, Choksi, just make the word itself a little funnier for some levity. Opioid.
Yes.
Opioid.
Yeah.
Is it
That's good.
right?
That's
Oi.
Yeah. Can you hear
Right.
that?
Because
That is so good.
and
And
it
it
works.
is.
It works because you were saying something so serious, but you're doing it silly. Opioids have destroyed my community. Things like that.
And it is an oi. You know, it's a big opioids are a big oi for the community.
Oh.
So there is truth in it.
And the last note, when your wife starts to talk to your dad, before she even says, you look great in sweatshirts, you should have her ask him if he wants to play the game Codenames.
Yes.
The game Codenames?
Codenames. Have you played it?
Everyone plays it.
I don't. We don't. I've never heard of Codenames.
If you had played it, you would get
Yeah.
why that really punches up the level of the joke. Because a lot of people have played it, and it's a fun and easy game for the family or friends.
You want to play the game Codenames?
And obviously, he can't because his mind is elsewhere.
Because
He has an addiction.
To the opioids.
Oi.
Opioids.
yeah, that's how you keep it
Oi.
light.
Yeah.
Oi.
Well, do you want to take it with your notes?
Yeah. No, thanks, guys. Thanks for these notes. I really appreciate the feedback. You know, my dad has the body of a Roomba. And the first time my wife met my dad, well, here comes the joke. He was like, I do say, now, it's so nice to have you two here coming to Houston, Texas. I'm just a good old boy, Southern lawyer. I love to wear my white suit and swing my cane, and I've never lost a case in my life.
Oh, he's good. He's a good lawyer.
I am perspiring. And my wife was like, oh, Mr. Choksi, it's so nice to finally meet you. Do you want to play code games?
Codenames.
It's actually code names.
Code name.
It's code names, but
I meant code names.
oh, call back.
My dad was like, oh, what can I say, Caitlin? Doing opioids. Such a bad thing for the country. 60,000 people have been addicted, lives ravaged across the nation, working class families suffering like we've never seen before in this country. But it's a bad habit of mine.
Wow. You felt
loved
it. You
it.
felt it. We dipped. We get serious.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow, there's a tension of being serious. And then you bring it right back out.
Before it was like the joke was there, but now like the joke is there.
Yeah. You can
Just be careful, though, because telling the world your dad has an opioid addiction, that could ruin his career.
Yeah, you don't want that to get out.
Yeah.